Hello, I'm Michael McConkey. Welcome to Reaction Norm. And I'm joined today by my co-host, Patricia Vino.
Hi,
Patricia.
Mike. How are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm very well, thanks.
That's good. So today is our maiden broadcast, our initial show. So we thought for this initial show, what we do is maybe rather than doing anything substantive on the topic, we thought we'd just talk about our aspirations for this show, what we're doing, and maybe introduce ourselves a little bit. Sounds good to you?
Sounds good to me. I'm excited.
Okay, so I guess just as a brief outline, we've sort of subtitled the show "Biology in Culture and Politics." And I guess we had two ideas in mind there, right? One is we want to, I guess probably the primary focus was that we want to look at culture and politics through the lens of biology.
Right.
And then the second part is we want to, we'll invariably, I think, will come up because the political climate is so charged these days, and science is so much under attack these days, is we also want to look at the treatment of biology in general, or specifically, and science in general, through in how they're treated in the culture,
right,
and in politics, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like there's a lot of debate around what sort of science is like trustworthy and what sort of research can be done and stuff. So we're just hoping to address that, you said.
yeah. Well, because I mean, of course, something that we will have to, I'd probably before very long have to get to is this whole the whole question of sex. Sex in bed, because it's a big topic right now. It has been for a while, very politically charged topic, and that's something that we're going to have to address. But I think there's something even more pervasive to me, which is an attack on science as being itself a form of politics, as
right.
It's kind of an ideology of the white male patriarchy or whatever, right?
Yeah, and so, like, different groups use it to sort of like wield power, and anyways.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll have to come to all that. So all that is going to be part of what we're going to discuss.
Right.
So there's a bit of background then for people who are our viewers, whoever who's out there watching, and the idea is we know no one's going to watch us off this top, but we imagine someday down the road when our show's really successful, some people may want to come back and watch this and find out who we actually are. So we know no one's going to watch this for the for the time being, but someday down the road this will be
right.
like a time capsule that people will want to dig up.
Exactly.
So we're working with kind of a mixed technology scene. Patricia is actually in the heart of the city.
Wow.
Right now, the real heart of the city. By the way, I know a really great tapas restaurant near you that I went to the other night with my kids, by the way. But well,
I think I know the one that you're talking about, and it is quite good. Yeah, Bodega.
It's really good, eh?
Right across the street. It's fabulous.
I know, it's fantastic. But despite that, I actually am living on an island, and my internet connection is a little dicey. So at times, Patricia may have to inform me that I've frozen, and what I said didn't make any sense. So we'll be sort of feeling our way through this, and we'll be trying to. Right now, we're just doing this on Google Hangout, and as the time goes on, we'll try and improve the technological delivery of the show.
Maybe we'll look back someday and be like, I can't believe our humble roots, right?
That's right. Exactly. That's right. And we'll have this as a reminder of those humble roots. Okay. So now about us. So I was trying to think of this. Like, how long have we known each other now? Do you?
I feel like I met you, I want to say 2013.
Okay.
But it might have been 2014.
Because that would be like 5 years, right? And
yeah.
I'm inclined to think it's probably closer to 6, actually. Yeah.
Well, I didn't even move to Vancouver until late 2012.
Right.
So.
All right. So yeah.
Before that's an impossibility, but yes.
Okay. No, it wasn't before that. Okay, fair enough. Like, how long do you remember? How long after you moved to Vancouver you started coming to the original book club?
I don't think it was. It was definitely in 2013. Like, we moved at the very end of August in 2012, and I feel like it would have been sort of maybe getting into the winter of 2013, the end of that year. So I think that's got to be when it is. So yeah, a good 5 years. And so that we met each other, attending reading group, book club, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So that was, So there's this book club is started by our mutual friend, David, who David was, that was an interesting story because David was just, he actually wasn't living in Vancouver. He was just coming every second weekend to visit his girlfriend. And so he decided to start a book club. Why not? Right. Because to us, that's funny because we know David, and David will start a book club anywhere he can.
Yeah.
So he started the book club, and it actually was a libertarian book club.
It was.
And I joined it from the beginning. And then I think after a year or so, then you joined, right?
Yep. It was funny. At the time I wasn't working, and I kind of felt like I needed something to do. And so I found you fine folks on meetup.com. And that was, yeah.
Yeah. And so we did that then for another year, if I remember correctly, after you had joined. We probably went on that direction. Then somewhere along the way, and I know that I initiated this, so I can't remember the exact process, but somewhere along the way, we sort of decided to start reading stuff with an evolutionary focus.
Right.
And so I guess that would have to mean then that the evolutionary group has been going for 4 years. Is that right then?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, it has.
It actually, I don't mean this in the wrong way. It seems longer than that.
I know. And that first book was the first book we read. I think it was The 10,000 Year Explosion.
It may have been. Yeah, it may have been. I know we read some articles before that, but that may have been the first book, I think. Yeah. Either that or the Pinker book. I can't remember, the Blank Slate. It was one of those two. I can't remember now which one.
I don't remember either. But yeah, so we started with some good stuff though.
Yeah. So we've been in this book club now for quite a few years, for a number of years. Yeah. And there's a bunch of regulars in our book club who've been on that journey with us, and we're gonna drag them on the show at various points along the way. Some of them. So maybe by the time viewers see this, they will have already met the amazing Charles or Jerem or something. So
It's true. But the book club was why, like, sort of where the idea of this was spawned out of, right? Is because it was just a lot of great discussion. It was really interesting. So we thought that maybe we could make a podcast out of it, and people might be interested in some of the conversations and stuff that sprung out of some of our reading and stuff. So here we are.
Here we are. Yeah. And yes. So that's sort of the genesis of all this. And what I wanted to say. Oh yeah. So I wanted to say that which is kind of relevant for me anyways, because I had sort of gotten interested in evolutionary psychology, looking for evidence to buttress my libertarian views. That was very instrumental, right? This sounds like this would be useful for keeping down all the status, right?
Yeah.
The problem, of course, is that the further I got into the evolutionary psychology, the more doubts I began to have about a lot of the priors that I had brought into it from libertarianism.
So instead of buttressing it maybe undermined.
It kind of undermined it, yeah. Because I had been a libertarian very much of that sort of Rothbardian sort of
right, yeah.
What do you call it? Sort of romantic idealism, sort of
right.
like natural law sort of stuff, right? And the more and the romanticism of rationalism too, right? And the more I looked at evolutionary psychology, that stuff didn't make sense to me, right? So since my libertarian virtue became corrupted, I thought that I would bring it into the book club so it could corrupt everyone else. So I wouldn't be
mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. Which is not to say, I mean, I think most of us would probably still identify as on that end of the political spectrum, but I don't think any of us are nearly as comfortable with the assumptions underpinning the libertarianism theoretically as we might have been, at least in terms of the idealist sort of approach.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think any of us are holding our breath for any sort of libertarian utopia to emerge anytime soon.
Yeah, because this stuff does breed a kind of realism, which is ironic. One of the criticisms of it from certain political quarters is that it's just a defense of the status quo, which I don't think it is a defense of the status quo. But, the status quo makes a lot more sense when you understand this stuff, though, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I just think that evolutionary psychology was so interesting too, because and why I've been really interested in reading it with the group and everything has I think like a lot of the narrative around politics and stuff now, it's either you believe one thing or you're stupid. And people like, in different coalitions or like different political beliefs, it's like the only explanation you get is like, well, people are stupid. I'm like, that's really not interesting. And it's often not true. Sometimes it's true, but it's not usually true. So I was like, I think that we can offer a better commentary than just people are stupid. I mean, people are stupid, but there's more to it than that.
Well, the people who criticize evolutionary theory are stupid. No, I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. But yeah, no, absolutely. That's one of the real values of this, is that it allows you to have a fuller perspective, to understand people's motives and understand people, humans as a general rule, have are motivated in the same way. The same things may not motivate them, but the motivating system that gets them to make the choices and to adopt the ideas that they adopt are it's not all that different from person to person, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you now you have, like I had before, like 5-6 years ago, I had no background in this, but you didn't you say you studied biology as well?
I did my first year in undergrad in biology, and then just found it so dry. And I retreated to the arts, and kind of didn't look back, but I'd always really enjoyed science. And so that way it was a lot of fun in the reading group to be able to, read about this stuff and kind of feel like you still have a science outlet without having to like sit through organic chemistry classes and whatnot in university. So I have by no means, a strong foundation, but I did study a little bit of it at an undergraduate level. So.
Yeah. Now, so I have a couple questions for you. So first of all, now knowing what you know now, do you think if you were back in those courses that you would find them more interesting?
Maybe. And I was trying to, it was a long time ago, right? So I also feel like maybe I'm not, and at the time, it's like you're so young, and maybe I'm not remembering quite accurately what it was like. But I do feel like even though it was like a first year course in evolution, that like there was so many evolutionary concepts that I wasn't even introduced to that now have really like changed the way that I look at the world, like, the handicap principle and stuff like that. I don't even feel like we got any of that, which to me is surprising looking back.
Yeah, that was actually my next question. If you felt there was in hindsight, if you felt there was a sufficient organization of the material around evolutionary theory.
I didn't feel like it at the time, but I also wasn't a model student in my first year. So I was actually wondering, I think I still have the textbooks downstairs, so I might at some point go down and dig them up and see what it was. But I remember that it just seemed simplistic to a point that it didn't feel like a satisfying explanation of the world around us. It seemed like simplistic and like unable to really, not unable to explain things, but it just didn't feel satisfying. You know what I mean? That felt like there was more to it. And I feel like, there is a lot more to it. Maybe it was just, they try and, it's a first year class. Maybe they try and go easy on you. But yeah, and now looking back, I realize it's because we got like one small wedge of evolutionary sort of theory, and there's a ton more to it. So.
Yeah, and this is the thing, right? I mean, like all this stuff, the chemistry even, has to. I mean, it doesn't have to be, but I mean, I think it's most usefully, most inspiringly, if I can say it that way, understood through the lens of evolution. Because I mean, everything that's alive is a part of evolution, and if you can tie it to those stories, it makes it gives it a kind of sense and meaning, a kind of narrative value that it just doesn't have when it's treated in some kind of insular way or something.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember remember a lot of it got into sort of like game theory and stuff too, which is all like it's useful and it's interesting, but it just felt at the time hard to put it all together and hard to really like look out at the world around you and like have clear explanations of sort of what's going on or theories for what might be going on.
Yeah. I have a grievance too, but it's not from university. It goes back to high school. Now, you can say, this maybe comes down to one's vision of what school should be and how teachers should function or be trained or interact with the students or the material or whatever, right? But I mean, I was actually in high school while this sort of whole revolution was taking place in biology in the 70s, right? So I was in high school when Hamilton had already done his work on kin selection or inclusive fitness, and Trivers was publishing all those papers on reciprocal altruism and parental investment theory, all this stuff that was revolutionizing biology. And even I think I might even have been in school when Dawkins published The Selfish Gene. I'm not sure about that, but I mean there was a ferment going on, right? And I just felt like I feel like and maybe it's asking too much. I don't know, maybe it is, but I just felt like in hindsight, I feel that we should have been exposed to that, but instead we were learning the epidermis of plants and how to all this like incredibly boring stuff. It was so boring, and so I came away from biology so like this is like just about the most boring thing in the world.
No, absolutely. I remember like this is the things that you remember too from like university is like we had like a really arrogant professor, and I guess his like greatest academic thing is he discovered like the ancestor of like wild cotton or wherever we domesticated cotton from, but and he just went on and on about this, and I was like, who cares? Like of all the things, like what the like ancient ancestor of domestic cotton is now. I'm just like, yeah.
Well, that does sound boring. Yeah, geez. Okay, so we both had early disappointment in biology. So as the years went on, as you worked your way towards joining the book club, what did you have any interests along the way in science? Did you sort of put all that aside?
I put most of it aside. Yeah. What about you? Did you have any interest in science or?
It's it was amazing, right? I mean, I was to look at it from the perspective I have now. It's kind of amazing to me how long I went without any kind of grounding in science and scientific method. Understood nothing about statistics. I mean, like, and I went through my life pretty positive that I knew the answer to everything somehow. It was like it's kind of amazing to me in hindsight. I think that, and I can't say exactly how this happened. How did this happen? I can't remember now. But soon after I moved to Vancouver, which was 10, 11 years ago or now, for some reason I started reading Karl Popper. Somehow Karl Popper had come up. So I started reading Karl Popper, and that was the first sort of exposure to actually understanding what the scientific method was and what was interesting about it and what was challenging about it and why it was a special form of knowledge and why it had to be treated in some ways different than other kinds of knowledge claims. And so that sort of got me sort of gradually interested, but that was a slow process. It's still a number of years before I started really seeking myself into real scientific work. But.
Well, I did take after I switched to the arts, I did enjoy taking history of science classes. So I did quite a few of those.
Yeah, well, that's good stuff.
And that was like an easier way to sort of feel like you're learning about science, but from the nice retreat, of history, and it was a little bit easier, right, than wading through statistics.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, for sure. That was part of the appeal of Popper. I think Popper was almost kind of like a, it made it okay to think about this stuff again, and he never talks about statistics or anything, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like a safe little place.
That's right. So at a level of narrative that I could follow, I was kind of like, okay, I guess this is good. Not to say that it wasn't pretty abstract. Some of that stuff, like the first book there, the name of which is eluding me. What is it? The something. I can't remember, scientific discovery, the something of scientific discovery. I'm scared. Anyways, that's a pretty abstract book, so it's not like it wasn't challenging, but
Right. Yeah.
it was in a domain that I could handle. I wasn't, it didn't overly stimulate my math phobia, which I and that's one of the great things about over the last couple of years, and especially having Charles in the group. I've sort of forced myself to try and understand the statistical side of things, and that really does deepen your knowledge when you start grappling with the statistical side of things. So
yeah, no, absolutely.
So why are we doing this again?
Why are we doing this? Because we are sick and tired. We are sick and tired of political commentary. So we're going to add our own.
Okay.
And cultural commentary, right? Maybe.
That's right.
Do we want to say we're less angry? Maybe we're not sick and tired. We're happy observers.
Yeah.
No, we're sick and tired.
Yeah, no, we're sick and tired, I think. Yeah. All right, hold on a second. I want to try and see if I can. This would be fun for the people as I see a screen share. Okay, so it's going to go a little weird here for a second, I think, folks. Hold on. Building trust by tearing others down. So this is an article that you can see is just published. It's November 2018. Okay, this is a great article. So I love this sort of thing, right? So this article actually has found. And I haven't gone through the whole thing, so I can't give the methodology in detail. And that's something we will do in here when we talk about articles. We will try and focus on the methodology, but we're just trying to do a brief introduction here. But this great article sort of discovers that people, when person A morally condemns person B, then person C, D, and E, and F watching this, automatically attribute some kind of credibility to person A just because they morally condemn someone else, right? And I just think like this is so incredible to me, this kind of thing. I mean, and this doesn't surprise me. I expect this kind of thing, but it's like of course that's the case, right? Because we need social norm. I mean, we're a very social animal. Right. We're the most social animal on the planet. So social norms are really important. So morality is real. Moralizing and moral condemnation is important as a way to sort of police those social norms and make sure people aren't taking advantage of the society, or else the whole thing would fall apart, right?
Right.
So that's all important, right? But of course, right, people can exploit that. Right? People can even whether it's conscious or it's just something that's sort of, part of your phenotypic operation, right? People can take advantage of that, right? To try and get other people to accommodate their interests, their fitness interests, right?
Right.
So the finding of this paper to me is so, so hilarious and obvious in a sense, right? Because yeah, of course, if you get if you're having a conflict with someone else, if you get out ahead and publicly denounce them morally before they publicly denounce you morally, then you've got an advantage. People are going to think you're more credible, right?
Right.
So I mean, it's this kind of thing, and I think this is why we see so much of the outrageous political behavior that we're seeing all over the place now, is because on some level, I think people understand that you have to present yourself as the morally superior one right from the start, and try and establish that superior position. So it's fun for me that this article demonstrates that, apparently. So but that's the kind of thing that I want to help undermine, or at least provide a look behind the curtain so people understand better what's going on when everyone's running around morally condemning each other. So people aren't so easily taken advantage of by these kinds of manipulations. That's the way I kind of see it.
And to understand why it works, like why we feel like that when somebody does get up there and, have moral outrage against X, Y, or Z, like why that is a strategy that works and why it is.
Yeah, and that's right. And it's not enough to simply explain it in the way that I just did, like for the last, 30 seconds or something. You're right. It's going to be much more powerful when people understand why it is and how it works, right? I think then it provides more insight into I think it will arm people better. Yeah. So this is part of what I want to accomplish in the show, is just provide people another kind of perspective on what's going on, and tools to think about these things that allow them to maybe take a little bit of that distance back and maybe not get quite so wrapped up in it.
Right. Yeah. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
Okay. So that's probably enough for today. Have we covered what we wanted to cover?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. We're going to talk about science, evolution, culture, politics, right? Just like our tagline.
Just like,
what else is there?
Just like the tagline says. Okay, I think that's good then.
All right. Well, this was fun, Michael. I'm really excited to get cracking on our first episode.
All right, and we'll have to. We have some ideas on what that will be, and we will work that out. And
stay tuned.
Stay tuned. All right. Adios. Bye.
Bye.